Well, we're here today with Nicole Tommell at MMT Cattle Company. Nicole, thanks so much for entertaining us and doing a farm favorite recipe here today with us.
Absolutely, Jean. Thanks for having me. So today what we're going to do is we're going to cook some classic fajitas. My kids are pretty basic in what they like to eat, as is my husband. And what I like about a recipe like this is we don't always have to use just tortillas. We can put it over salad or whatnot. So, which is what I usually do, is I put it over salad. But it's just as quick. It's simple. Being a working mom, working out on the farm as well as in my job, just doing something quick and nutritious for my kids is really important. So
well, yeah, and everybody's busy, and I think that consumers can relate to that. And we're taking this off of Beef It's What's for Dinner because basically you told me that's what I use, and yeah. I think that's awesome because they're tried and true. Every recipe on Beef It's What's for Dinner has been triple tested, and there's a lot of flexibility there as well. Mm-hmm. This recipe calls for flank or skirt steak. I'm using a flank, but I've used sirloin with this recipe. I've used whatever else that might be around and inexpensive. I've even used top round and everything, just cut it a little thinner. But we're going to be using flank, and I like flank, and it's starting to get some rave reviews because it is very flexible, especially with fajitas and stir fries. And it's really easy because you can see the fibers and how they run up and down because you want to cut across the grain, and that increases tenderness when you cut across the grain. So awesome piece of meat, and they're usually probably about a pound and a half when you get a good flank steak and everything. So easy to find too in the marketplace. So some other ingredients, and this is a very easy recipe, as we so have found out, is that we're going to take and mix some quarter cup of water with some the fajita. I mean, it's already
easy peasy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Easy for me.
Exactly. And then we're gonna cut up some and get about 2 tablespoons of some fresh lime juice. And if you don't have fresh limes, you can always cheat and use the dishwasher. So tell me a little bit about MMT Cattle and what you do here.
Well, we are a feed yard, which is pretty unique to New York State.
Very much so.
We feed about 1,600 head of cattle on the farm, and basically we've been here for 17 years. We started here, and our farm's gone through a lot of different changes and transitions because, as you know, agriculture is so forever changing. If you're stagnant, if you're not continually moving forward and changing with the dynamics of the industry, you'll be left behind.
So what is it that you do here to help out on the farm?
Well, basically I am in support mode right now because I do have an outside job, but I do all the financials on the farm. If Mark needs help outside, working cattle, weighing cattle, anything. I kind of step in and help out, as do my children.
And how old are the kids?
The kids, Mark will be 16 next month, and Addie is 13. So they have been, here and learned the way of the farm since the day that they were born. Mark would go outside with his little snowsuit on, and we'd feed calves. I mean, he's been in a stroller and been on the farm since the day he's been born. So the kids have always been very active. And in addition to that, we also have show cattle, so we do a lot of the show cattle, chores and working cattle. So I do that too, and I try to manage that with the kids. So.
All right, so we're going to take the meat and we're going to put it in this glass dish for that marinade. So, the cool thing about the marinade is the acid of the lime will help break down the fibers a little bit and make it a little bit more tender. So far, really, really easy, and I'll put it in the refrigerator.
We can put it right in that lower refrigerator. I cleared that out so we could use that.
And then the next thing that we need to do is we're going to cut up the vegetables, because the vegetables are going to be grilled too, because we're going to be grilling that steak, the flank steak, out on the grill a little bit. and we will also be growing the vegetables. So according to the recipe that Nicole uses, they'll be cut into half-inch slices, and then the peppers, you can get different colors, you can keep it all the same, whatever the theme may be. These are going to be quartered, and then they're going to be added to the bowl as well.
All right.
What else do you do? I mean, you say that you help on the farm and stuff, but you have a full-time job. What else do you do?
Currently, I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension on the regional Central New York Dairy Livestock and Field Crops team.
Wow.
I cover an 8-county region from Madison County down to Shenango County, all the way across to Saratoga County.
And you live here in Fondon, New York.
I do. So I'm in Montgomery County, so I go almost to the Syracuse line.
Wow.
So it's pretty big, and then all the way to basically the Hudson River. So I have a pretty big territory.
Yeah, because up to Syracuse is like 2 hours away.
It is.
To your west.
Minutes. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And then to the Hudson Valley River the Hudson River is probably an hour and a half or so.
So this is a perfect recipe in a sense. I mean, everybody's on the go, everybody's busy, and this is something that you can do super fast. I mean, the whole recipe itself, in a sense, is like 45 minutes, it states, but
I can get it done faster.
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah, not only that, but you can marinate the flank in the morning, because that was super easy. I mean, hello, here it is. And then you come back, and voila. Now, does your daughter help you in the kitchen?
She does. She's quite the little cook herself. She likes to cook. She's more of a baker than a cook, but she is getting much better at that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Nicole, we've been asking all the moms on the farms and everything, if you could really talk to the consumers and tell them anything. I mean, here's an opportunity to explain farm life. And
you know, we're here, we eat exactly what they're eating. We really strive to do our best, to be good stewards of the land, to be good stewards of the cattle, and to know that, you know, every day we're out there doing this. And it's really a labor of love. It's not just the money part of it. I mean, we do have to make money in order to live just like everybody else, but this is really truly a labor of love. And what we do, and loving the land and loving the cattle, is the most important thing.
because that's just the way, it's just the way we roll around here. Alright, so we have our onions cut, and now we're going to cut and quarter the peppers.
Alright.
So we can grow those. So we were talking about life on the farm and what we want the consumer to know, and that it's a livelihood, and there's a love and a caring, and there's a lot of responsibility involved to the environment and to your neighbors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we are a larger farm, which sometimes gives people the misnomer that we're a corporate farm, but we're not. We're still a family farm, and we still have to abide by all the rules, and we still have to, be nice to our neighbors. And we really tried, and we really strive to have neighbors that like us, and also, sorry if I'm being messy.
No.
Strive to have friends, people that like us, and doing right for the community, and also for, like we've talked, is the environment and our neighbors. So we do things here. We try to, for instance, we try to shut down lights and things and not work too late, unless weather permitting. In the summertime, sometimes we have to. But we really try to respect our neighbors and keep things quiet in the nighttime. Sometimes we do have trucks and trailers come through here in the late evening, but we do really try to keep things quiet so our neighbors can be happy. Pretty much, we got to keep them happy.
So, now, like you mentioned, you have a feedlot here, which is unique to New York State because most of the feedlots are in the Midwest. So, what do you want to let people know about feedlots in a sense? There's a lot of myths and misconceptions about feedlots.
Yep, there are. So, feed yards are unique they are not unique to New York State. Us having a feed yard, sorry, this is just such the way I do things.
No, do however you want.
So feed yards in New York State are, like I said, are an anomaly. They really are not around. There are just quite just a few. But it's important to have feed yards in New York State because, and have cattle under cover on especially our climate because of our weather here. So we have a lot of cattle under cover, whereas in the Midwest, they are drier. They have a much drier climate. So it's not as impactful to our environment, to their environment as it is here in our environment. So we do a lot of things undercover. We actually like that better because we can see all the cattle, we can monitor their gains, we can monitor their feed intakes. They're just much more comfortable in the wintertime. In the summertime, they're under fans, they have automatic watering systems. They are very climate controlled, which is great.
Because it keeps them comfortable. It keeps them, it keeps them comfortable. And when they're comfortable and they're not stressed, that's where we get the consistency of the meat that we have.
That's right.
Exactly. And what makes us a little different here in New York is we're a big dairy state. So in the Midwest, you have a lot of beef cattle that are in feed yards. Your Angus and your Herefords, etc. But the cattle that you have here in your barns are black and white Holsteins for the majority of them.
That's right. We are a dairy state, as you just mentioned. So in order for a cow to produce milk, a cow has got to have a calf every single year. So by just, science and natural, there's going to be 50% heifers and 50% bulls. That's just the way it is. And so we have to do something with those bull calves. And those bull calves actually will come here when they're about 900 pounds. Wow. And they will live here until they go to slaughter at about 1,400 pounds.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we keep them here and then they go right to the processing facility.
And you have a vet relationship, so there's a vet here at times if they do get ill. You have a nutritionist that helps you with your feed and figure out how they can gain weight, but in a controlled atmosphere, not like, hey, I'm 900 pounds today and I'm 1,400 pounds, a month from now because I just went through the holidays, type thing that we suffer through.
Yeah, no, it's all controlled. And the other thing that we are really keen on is trying to get byproducts. And we actually have, our nutritionist is from Illinois, and we take feed samples and we send all of our feed samples out, and from there he balances our rations, and he comes out a couple times a year, visits us, and we're able to utilize a lot of products that consumers aren't using. And we balance a ration for our cattle to eat.
Excellent.
So all that product isn't going into the landfill, which is sustainable.
There you go. And we're going to talk about that because cattle are uniquely upcyclers, and we're going to get to that definition of what that upcycling means, because I know that grill is ready, and we are intending on grilling this flank steak as well as the vegetables. So let's get it on the grill.
Cool. Let's go. Garlic.
Alright, so what we did is we folded up, we put all the vegetables in here because we're going to take a cue from Nicole, and as you say, we're always flexible with the recipes, and there we go, there it is, sizzle. The flank is in there, and put those on. Vegetables are in there, some olive oil. What else did you put with it?
A little bit of garlic and olive oil.
Awesome. And then we're just going to close it on. And so this will probably grow. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to turn it probably once in a little bit. Oh, and I also have my handy-dandy thermometer. Yep. So we talked about the 3 T's of grilling. This is grilling season, and it's time, temperature, and tongs. So the temperature, we want it to be about 145 degrees, and it's nice medium rare. Tongs to turn it, we never want to use forks. And then the timing is, as it's stated on the recipe itself, because it's a flank steak, it's going to take a little longer, so it could be 15 to 20 minutes. So look at that.
It smells so good.
Awesome. Ooh, we got some nice pretty grill marks. Yeah. And I can hear the vegetables cooking.
Yeah, we'll take a peek at those. It's not onions. Oops, darn it.
Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. And we have some guacamole and some cheese to go with these. So we talked about, we were mentioning that fun word upcycling, because we were talking about all the byproducts that you use that aren't necessarily edible for human consumption.
That's right.
And that cattle can go ahead and utilize. And one of the greatest things that cattle do that, and that's why they're the quintessential upcyclers, is that they take grass, a non-edible entity for humans, and can create a viable protein.
That's right.
No other animal can do that.
No.
And we do it in farming because if you are next to a brewery, you can use the distiller's grain that's left over, ethanol plants.
Yep.
Is there any other products that you use from this area, or other farms that?
Brewers' grains. We'll use brewers' grains from the breweries or dry distillers' grains. We will use actually like a fish cake from Massachusetts. Sometimes will be brought in periodically, and it's the breading off of fish. We actually get vegetables that are discarded waste from like Walmart's, and we actually have a recycling company that brings them to us. So all those vegetables that get thrown away at various grocers actually come here, and we feed those to the cattle. We feed candy.
It's a carbohydrate, and people are like, I can't believe you're giving Twinkies or candy to cattle, but it's a carbohydrate.
Yeah.
And it's viable, and it's part of their whole makeup of things.
Their makeup is people have to remember that their makeup, their rumen, is so different than our digestive tract. So, when they talk about those things, we have to be really cognizant about, we're talking about a ruminant, which is 4 different compartments in their stomach. So, it's either that, or it goes into a landfill.
Right.
And so which would you rather do? Feed it to an animal that can utilize it and then give us protein for our bodies, or would you rather it go into a landfill?
The end user are kind of the biggest food wasters. We throughout all of our industry, manufacturing, agriculture, use everything, but at the end user, us, the consumer, is probably the biggest sources of waste.
Yes.
We throw things away. One of the fewest things the least that's thrown away, though, is beef, because everybody wants to eat all of that. So, time, temperature, and tone. The best way to take temperature of a steak or burgers or what have you is not like this, because what will happen is it'll go right through and then they'll get that heat. So this nice handy dandy tongs here, put it right in the middle, and it'll tell you exactly what that temperature is. And we want to make sure we get it in the middle. And that's about 145 degrees. Take that off of the grill and the vegetables itself.
And usually when I take it off, because it's going to cook a little bit, I'll usually wrap it in tin foil. So what we can do is just take it. And actually, and then all the juices will come back in.
Yeah.
So we just kind of wrap it and kind of put it that way. And we'll take this off. Oh, that smells super yummy. Super yummy.
And as we mentioned, we're letting it rest, the juices go back in, and it actually will continue cooking for a few more degrees, anywhere from 5 to 7 degrees. So, and you can take a look, and if you can see here, you can see how the striations or the grain of the beef is. So you're definitely going to be cutting it this way. And again, flank steak can be tough. That's why you marinate it for a number of hours. You can 8 to 12. You can 4. Never over 24 hours. So it can be overnight. You can use it the next day for dinner. And what leftovers you said you take for a salad, you have anything.
Yeah, it's beef.
It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't. So why don't we cut this up and we'll make a nice little beauty plate here.
Right. Oh yeah, that's like perfect.
Look at that.
Perfect.
It is. And again, with flank, you want to cut it really, really thin, and all of that between cutting across the grain, cutting it nice and thin, it'll be a great eating experience for everybody involved.
Super juicy too.
Beautiful. Some onion and pepper. I like that we use 2 different colors.
Yeah, me too.
So festive. Excellent.
I like these. Just kind of.
Look at this one.
Cheese.
And there we go. And it's
Dinner.
It's dinner. Super easy for a busy mom like yourself. Kudos to you and continued luck and success on your farm. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too.